And happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts. Our other host, Anthony Ihrig, is off being a banjo rock star this weekend and couldn't be with us. But we have joining us all the way from Billings, Montana today, Mr. Scott Cook.
Hey, Alan. How's it going?
Good, 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 good. And folks are very excited in fact, David got on pretty early today, 10 minutes early, ready for the show. Not going to miss 1 second of
Oh,
being all day.
oh, wow.
And Alan is joining us from Dallas this week. Happy Friday, Alan. It sounds like it's hot down there. It's pretty perfect right now in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's like in the 70s and not humid. Now that Canadian wildfire smoke has drifted on
Mm,
elsewhere,
mm.
um, it's pretty nice right now. And let's see, Wiley joining us from Fairfax, Virginia. Just made a margarita. Ooh, sounds good to me. Make me one. Lynn, excited about the show and drinking Prosecco in Greenville, South Carolina. Well,
Wow.
so folks are
I
joining
gotta
the
say,
party. Yep,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry. I just
No.
gotta say what a joy it is to see David's name pop up.
Oh,
Because whenever I go to Minneapolis or like even in the area of Minneapolis, he shows up in person. And I just feel like I'm visiting Minneapolis right now to see his
oh,
name pop up.
that's so great. And David, yes, a big music supporter here in the Twin Cities. And
Mm.
if you just joined us, feel free to um, say where you're tuned in from in the comments. If you're enjoying a snack or a beverage, for me, it's the weekly kickoff to my weekend. So I'm enjoying a fun beverage to kick things off. I'm having a John Prine. That's right, a vodka and ginger ale to kick off my weekend. And today's special. I don't usually have snacks. Today I needed something salty. So I just dug into the bag of snacks, and that's what I'm going to enjoy with my John Prine beverage.
Wow.
And Scott, I know you're on the road right now, so but what are you
That's right.
drinking?
I am on the road. We're trying to get as far home as we can,
Mhm.
toward home as we can tonight. So so I'm gonna keep it non-alcoholic. This is a Samuel Adams Just the Haze.
Ooh,
It's a hazy IPA
without
without
the
the
booze.
A.
That sounds awesome. That sounds great and refreshing, and I like the sound of that can snap. Cheers to all of you out
Cheers.
there. And yeah, so you are in Billings, Montana, and this looks like it's your van, right? Is this
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
traveling van? Your home
Yeah.
away from
Yes,
home.
indeed.
And
Yeah.
so tell us for folks who, I mean, obviously David is a big fan because he got on board early today to say hi. But for folks who maybe aren't as familiar with your music, maybe you could give a little brief origin story, 2 minute origin story of where you grew up, where you're from, and kind of how you fell into making music, in particular, what led to this record that we're going to revisit today.
Sure thing. I was born in West Virginia. My folks moved us up to Saskatchewan when I was young and kind of grew up around the Canadian prairies. Moved to Edmonton for high school and university. And that's where I started playing in bands, playing punk rock as a bass player in the first place, and then doing some other electronic music, drum and bass music, a little hip hop, and just a variety of things. And then I moved to Taiwan in 2000, and that's when I started playing my first solo shows
Wow.
and also leading a band, playing my own tunes and my buddies' tunes, and playing bass in another band over there. So that's where I really got a taste for gigging and that, and then I would come back home to Canada in the summers and try and play music wherever I could and see music wherever I could. I mean,
Mhm.
really, I got into this first and foremost as a fan, you know.
Mhm.
So I
Same.
just wanted to go to festivals and watch bands and eventually, you know, try to figure out how I could be around these festivals in a bigger way. Um, so tried recording little demo CDs and that sort of thing, and eventually had a crack at booking a couple tours for the summer while I was still living in Taiwan, and brought my band over a couple times, and we did two really financially disastrous tours around Western Canada. Um, and yeah, being the glutton for punishment that I am, I decided to come back and try it full time on my own in 2005, and just put at that time just put like a an air mattress in the back of a van and a minivan, and made it coast to coast. But maxed out my credit cards, and had to get a job to get a plane ticket back to Taiwan to work for another year and a half before I came back and tried it again. And at that time, I put a proper mattress in the back of the minivan, and I've been doing this for a living ever since.
Wow.
Um, in 2020, of course, I was off the road for a bit. But right before the pandemic hit, I had moved into a house with my sweetheart Pamela, and we started playing together. We had a house band, you know. Us and our other roommate started doing live streams, and she picked up the upright bass at that time to fill out the house band, and she's been playing it since, and she's really killing it. And yeah, also in 2020, we bought the van I'm in now. And at the beginning of 2022, she quit her other job in labor relations to come on the road and be a full-time folk singer. So we've been traveling around doing that ever since.
Wow. And is this Pamela right here?
That's
With it?
her. Yeah, that's her
Yeah.
right there. Yeah.
Awesome.
She's out running around getting a coffee and stuff.
Ah, that's an important role.
Yeah.
Well, we're so excited to have you here on the show today and to dive into this record that came out 10 years ago. It's the 10th anniversary of this album, One More Time Around. Um, I'm guessing that's probably a reason enough to pick this record. Is there anything else that you think of when you think of this record and the making of this album?
Yeah, well, this album was my fourth, and my first was made in Taiwan. I made a couple more in Edmonton, and then this one. And this was just the point at which I think, looking back, of course, when you're doing something, you want it all to be your magnum opus, you know, every time, right?
Yeah.
But looking back, I feel like this is kind of where I started to hit my stride.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, with this being the 10th anniversary of it, I just actually most of my music is not on the streaming services, but I just released the title track of this to Spotify and all that, just to kind of celebrate the 10-year anniversary. And yeah, I think it still holds up, you know.
Excellent. Well, I know folks are eager for the music, so let's dive into it. And this is the first track you picked to feature from the record, Pass It Along. Is there anything you want to say about this track?
Sure. Yeah, I guess it would have been about late 2011 or early 2012. I was back in Taiwan, and I had been through a breakup, and I was brokenhearted, and I decided to take a month off rather than I had planned to go to Laos or, you know, somewhere else, and I decided to just take a month off and hunker down in this beach town on the northeast coast of Taiwan called Fulong, and take a month off of the party too. So I took a month off the sauce, and
Mhm.
it ended up being a super creative month, and I wrote three new songs, and this was the first of them. And it just, as it turned out, I don't know if hopefully I'll write a song like this again, but as it stands now, this is the one that most people know of mine, and certainly the song that the most other people have learned to sing themselves, which is, you know, for me, that really feels like when a song goes to heaven is when somebody else is singing it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's take a listen to it now. This is Scott Cook with Pass It Along here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
This guitar came from a timber from the body of a tree through the workshop of a luthier. Now it's on loan to me, and it's good company after dinner. And it fits my hands just fine, but someday another singer with a pair of hands like mine will coax out songs much prettier, still hiding in its strings, and sing stronger, braver words than I could ever sing. And folks are gonna love it, of this I'm almost sure, so I take good care of it, 'cause I'm borrowing it from her. Pass it along, pass it along. May it land in careful hands when we're gone. You carry it for a moment, but time won't loan it to you for long. You don't own it, pass it along. This here is my country. Sometimes it's hard to recognize it, but I count myself lucky to have been born inside it. And I'm grateful for the rights others struggle hard to win. And you can be sure I'm gonna fight when they try and take them back again. Oh, and everywhere are teachers, though some fell along the way. And the words they said still reach us, just like you're teaching me here today. And you may not speak it loud, but it's clear in what you do. And I hope to make you proud, 'cause I borrowed it from you. Pass it along, pass it along. May it land in careful hands when we're gone. You carry it for a moment, but time won't loan it to you for long. You don't own it, pass it along. Seems these days we're in a hurry to grab up all that's left to use, putting patents on discovery, making seeds that don't reproduce. If our vision is so narrow, seeing only bought and sold, we'll end up like the pharaohs, buried with their gold. We've all pushed this thing along, we've all been guided by our fear, but the river sings a song we've gotta be quieter to hear. It's in every child's face, new and hopeful as a stem. Best be gentle with this place, 'cause we're borrowing it from them. Pass it along, pass it along. May it land in careful hands when we're gone. You carry it for a moment, time won't loan it to you for long. You don't own it, pass it along, pass it along, pass it along. May it land in careful hands when we're gone. You carry it for a moment, time won't loan it to you for long. You don't own it, pass it along.
All right. That was Scott Cook with Pass It Along from his 2013 release, One More Time Around, which we are revisiting today, celebrating the 10th anniversary of this album. And Connie says, great song. And I agree.
Yeah.
It feels like a classic folk song, in the best of ways. And that it feels like, you know, that song you're going to sing around the campfire with a bunch of people. Is this a song that becomes a sing along at shows?
Yeah, it's the one that most people know, I guess, at shows, and yeah, and a bunch of other people have sung it. A few have recorded it. I think it's on three, maybe four other records,
Oh,
which feels great.
we'll have to get a list of
And
those and share that with people.
yeah, my buddy Mike Martin put it on a record in Australia. My buddy Jez Hellard over in England put it on a record, and um, George. Why am I George Mann put it on a record
Nice.
last maybe 2 years ago. Um,
So it's really getting
I
passed along. That's wonderful.
it is. One thing that was really cool for me with that song is Sing Out.
Mhm,
They published the book, the Rise Up Singing. I mean,
mhm.
they published a book, or like a bound ring bound collection
It's
of
like the
songs.
ultimate folk Bible, in my opinion. Just like a
Yeah, it
ton of
really is.
songs and lyrics and just chords, and that's it. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So they included it in their collection. They haven't republished, so I don't know if it'll ever be in print, but it's on their website and that. And hearing from them, I really felt like, yeah, really humbled to hear from them, and to, for that song to be kind of admitted into that canon,
Yeah. I mean, really, because when you look at the wealth and breadth of songs in that in Rise Up Singing, you're getting, the classics like the Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie stuff, and then you're getting
Mm.
Bob Dylan and the Beatles and some old gospel songs and kid
Yeah.
songs, and it really kind of to be included amongst those folks is
And some new stuff. My
mhm.
friend May Erlewine has a song in there called "Shine On." Yeah, there's new stuff in there. It's great work that they've done, and yeah, I felt honored to be included.
Yeah, and, folks loving it. Joni says, "Oh my goodness, I have tears in my eyes. That is such a beautiful song." Wiley says,
Mm.
"Awesome lyrics, Scott." And Alan says, "This might get stuck in my head. Quick, play another." Well, we will definitely be getting to some more, Alan, have no fear. And then, not right now, of course, but later you'll want to see the CFMA National Strum 2020 version of Pass It Along. So,
Oh
that's,
yeah,
David's
true.
recommendation. So we'll have to dig
Yeah,
that out.
yeah. Yeah, also
Ah,
a friend out on Gabriola Island put together a video last year for Earth Day with a bunch of people singing that song.
oh, very cool.
My buddy Bob Boston strung that together. I think if you look up "Pass It Along" transatlantic version, you'll see that.
Nice, nice. Well, it's so wonderful when songs have a life beyond what they had when you maybe first wrote them or envisioned them. When you wrote this song, you talk about your country, and obviously you've lived in the U.S. and Canada and Taiwan. So, what country are you referring to in that song? What inspired that particular tune?
Yeah, well, I'm a dual citizen, Canadian American citizen, and I know some of my compatriots on both sides of the border might disagree with this sentiment, but I kind of tend to think of it as one big country, because we certainly sink or swim together. And
Mm.
yeah, I didn't want to be too specific in that. And I hear Aussies singing, and English singers and Scottish singers, and it means different things to different people, I guess. So,
Yeah.
um,
So truly
but
universal in that way.
yeah, and I guess we certainly in the Western world, I think we all share, s- the global North. I think kind of shares a trajectory,
Mhm.
with the empire and the violence that sustained that, and nowadays with the kind of gradual degrading of the cultural wealth that we inherited, the sort of commonwealth that we inherited, um, always seems to be under attack, or whatever, being sold off to the highest
Mhm.
bidder. And so, thinking about the when I'm talking in the song about the rights, I'm thinking really about basic things like a right to an education, and healthcare
Hmm.
and a decent standard of living and all those things that are continually being eroded.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure people feel that wherever they live throughout the world. That's always kind of in constant danger of being taken
Mm,
away.
mm.
And uh, so that song, by the way, has a beautiful build to it too. I just before we get into we have some questions, but before we get into those, I want to talk about the production on this song. So where did you record this record?
Recorded in Edmonton, and my buddy Brad Smith was at the helm on that session, and my buddy Jesse D is playing the electric guitar. My friend Matt Blackie on the drums, and Bramwell Park, a longtime bandmate of mine, on the banjo, and a great upright bassist named Tom Golub was playing the bass on that. And then Bram and my friend Jackie B are singing the harmony vocals on that one.
It's really lovely. And I do want to make sure that we mention this that I heard you say that except for the title track to this record, which you just released in honor of the 10th anniversary of this album, most of your music is not available on the streaming services. So that means folks need to buy it from you if they want to hear it. So scottcook.net/store. We'll put it in the comments as well. But is that the best place to get your music?
That is indeed the best place and the best time. If they live in the United States, the best time is right now,
Because you're actually
because
stateside, so it's easier. It'll be quicker to get
not
here,
only that,
cheaper
I'm
too.
parked in front of a post office in Billings, Montana, and tomorrow is the post office is going to be closed. So,
So
yeah,
today, you better get your
today would
orders
be
in
the time.
today.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure
and
we get that in the comments.
yeah, you know what? I should cut people a deal too, because if they go on my website and they order there, it's going to calculate the shipping internationally, right?
Hmm.
Because normally it's coming from Canada. So actually, if they were to just go to Venmo and
Ah,
just say it's for for the CD, the CD's called One More Time Around. I'll just send it to them. $20 will do you.
excellent.
Yeah.
20 bucks. That's a steal. So you can PayPal or Venmo at Scott Cook Songs. And you can also just throw a tip in there. And
If
you
they
can throw a
want.
tip in there. I should say both. Yeah, exactly. Um, well, folks are loving the music, and before we dive back in, I didn't want this one question to get lost because Alex wanted to know what brought you to Taiwan in the first place. You said you lived there for a while, or on and off
Yeah,
over the years.
yeah, yeah. I had I studied philosophy in university, and I was intending to go on in that field, and maybe probably spend my life in academia was the plan. I had already gotten my letters from my professors and everything to letters of reference to go to U of T in Toronto and study philosophy, and then I went with some friends to Costa Rica for a couple months, right at the end of 1999. And I'd never been overseas before, and it just completely blew my mind. And I really lost interest in talking about all possible worlds, as you do in philosophy, and got a lot more interested in this actual one. And yeah, so I really just wanted to go anywhere, and see any place else, And I had a couple friends who had just come back from Taiwan, and they brought us a 6 pack of Taiwan beer, and we sat in the backyard, and they told us about it, and the beer was horrible, but it sounded like an amazing place, and the cost of living was very low, and you get to hang out with kids all day, teaching kindergarten. And I just thought, sure, I would just try that.
Hmm.
So I went over there thinking I was going for 6 months, and ended up just falling in love with the place and making a lot of dear friends, and hanging out there for 6 years.
Wow, what a great story. Um, and again, some of this that's where you got your start really making music in a big way, which is really wonderful.
Mm,
And
yeah, yeah.
we're going to dig back into the record because Alan says, "Quick, play another." So we're gonna play another, Alan, I promise. So this next track you picked to feature from your record, One More Time Around, is "Among the Trees." What can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, this is just a song about kind of remembering what it was like to be a kid. I was particularly thinking of hanging out with my cousin Dylan in the woods in Michigan, and yeah, and just wondering at that at the distance from all of that that comes with adulthood and kind of so many of the material realities of life. Yeah, so it was just I was musing on that, and for the recording, the reason I picked this song is just because it sounds very different from how we play it nowadays. I played it on a thumb piano on Mbira,
Hmm.
and my buddy Brian McMillan just did some really tasty work on guitar on it, and yeah, I just love the way the recording turned out.
Excellent. Well, we're going to take a listen to it now. This is Among the Trees from Scott Cook's album One More Time Around here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Remember when we played among the trees, through pine cones and skinned our knees, built forts out of sticks and boats out of paper and wood. And the days lasted so long, lots of games had their own song. And up until dinner time, we had the run of the neighborhood. There was a rainbow in a piece of glass, dewdrops in the tall grass, dark smells and shade, and a puddle of water in an old rubber tire, and a hiding place inside you, and anywhere your bones fit. And inside every story, something to fight against, and someone to admire. And the TV signed off at night, but you could read with a flashlight. And games just took cards or chalk or jacks and a ball. We played grown up with candy smokes and hockey cards in our bike spokes. Climbed in a maple tree, seeds would helicopter as they fall. We'd always known, but if we knew what it was worth, would we traded it for trinkets from the company store? I ain't saying it was heaven, but at least it was earth. We don't taste much of that anymore. What weight pulled our kites down? What fear drove us from the playground? Convinced us there's only one game, and the point is to win it. What modesty clipped our wings, traded our dreams for things, led from leaf-covered trails to a road with no poetry in it. Can we find our way back somehow? Or has our imagination failed us now? Here with the world at our fingertips, doors locked and shades drawn, can we catch a wild breeze again? Are there still faraways in the wind? Stories worth believing, dreams worth betting everything.
right. That was Scott Cook with Among the Trees from his 2013 album One More Time Around, which we are revisiting today with Scott Cook joining us from his van on the road right now. Stop pulled off in front of the post office so he could join us today on the back catalog listening party in Billings, Montana. And it feels appropriate given talking about all your journeys and that you are just pulled over on the side of the road to talk with us today. It feels very fitting. And I see the map behind you, by the way. Is that a map of the places
Yeah,
there?
yeah. Actually, we in 2022 we were doing like a weekly live stream
Mhm.
from the van,
Mhm.
solar powered, and we to do the intro for that we wanted to drive a little Hot Wheels van around America to make the intro clip of it. So we starred all the cities that we were going on that trip to drive the
Nice.
van through. So, but yeah,
Excellent.
we got to add some more stars here. I think probably pick a different color and put the gigs from this year on there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so, you're in Billings right now, but where are you headed to tonight? Do you have a gig tonight or
No, so we left home at the end of April. We went out through Ohio and down to like Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and then over to Texas, and played the Kerrville Folk Festival.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful festival, that one. And we spent 2 weeks there because it's such a wonderful place to
It's
be.
the best hang. It's like
And
a 3-week festival for songwriters, for those of you who don't know,
yeah,
and there's amazing music on the stages, but also the real thing is the campfires at night and so
that's
many
it.
and so many it's not just like, wonderful people attending who are singing around the campfires. It's a lot of the main stage performers are out there too, and it's all mixing it up. It's good time.
Yeah, yeah, it's so special. So yeah, we took 2 weeks there, which is the longest I've stayed. I've been. It was my fourth time going, but it was my first time getting the gig actually this year.
Mhm.
Um, and then yeah, then we had one last gig in Buena Vista, Colorado, and then we're just driving straight home. Our next gig is the North Country Fair, which will be it's in northern Alberta, and we'll be up there on Wednesday. So we got some miles to cover.
Yeah, yeah, and if you wanna follow his travels and follow where all the pins on the map are going, you can go to scottcook.net. Obviously, you can get his music buy his music there. Again, not available on streaming, only available through Scott Cook, and you can also check out his tour schedule, and I do know that, for I know we have some Minnesota folks, which is where, I am based here. Back catalog listening party central is located in Minneapolis, and you're going to be in our neck of the woods in late August playing Story Hill Fest, August 25th through 27th. So that will be great up in Deerwood, Minnesota.
I'm so looking forward to that.
It's
Yeah,
a
they
great
they
festival. Have
contacted
you
me.
been to that before? It's
No,
great.
no. They
Really
contacted
fun.
me last year and we just couldn't make it work timing wise. So yeah, I'm so glad that we can do it this year and Pamela will be along. And yeah, it just sounds sweet. Like again, I think like you said about Kerrville, the real action is around the campfire, from
Yeah.
what I hear.
And
Yeah.
what's cool about Story Hill Fest is it's all one campfire. So it's like a small
Mm,
enough
mm,
festival that everyone literally, I mean, Story Hill, the host band, and past guests here on Back Catalog, they and all the performers and all the people attending who want to go gather around this big campfire and yeah, swap songs. And it's cool because the rest of the people can participate and sing along. And it's really, really
yeah.
special and
Sounds
magical.
beautiful.
And Lynn, our fellow party attendee from South Carolina, wants to know where did you play in South Carolina?
Oh yeah, we were in Bluffton at a thing called Music on Malfris. It's at a UU congregation there. It's like a monthly series that they put on, and
Nice.
that was my first time in South Carolina.
Oh, so Lynn, if you have other suggestions of where Scott should play, you should get in
I'm
touch
all
with him.
ears.
And then Connie has a question about the cover art, and I will try and pull it up here. Let's see if I can find it. But why don't you start talking about this beautiful artwork?
Sure. Yeah, this I tried my hand at painting acrylics. And this is like I was gonna make it I was going to make it an LP. I've never actually made it an LP, but so the painting itself is like LP size times three, and yeah, it's just kind of a nature scene with some crows flying through it, and some leaves turning from yellow to red to brown and back to green, kind of going on there. There's a little motif
It's
running
so
through
cool that
there.
it
So
continues long beyond the cover, that the river kind of flows through.
yeah, it's like a threefold thing.
Hmm.
Um, this was the work in progress as it was going, and yeah,
There we go. And sorry, who did the painting?
I did.
Oh, beautiful. Really, really nice.
Yeah, I watched some YouTube videos about painting with acrylic, and yeah, just had a crack at it. Yeah, I'd like to do it again. It's fun. I just haven't really made the time to try it again.
Well, it's hard when you're driving all day and then stopping to talk with folks like me on the road on the road, go to the post office, mail the CDs, and then go on to your
Yeah,
next gig. It's a
as
lot.
you well know, yeah, a lot of this too.
Yeah,
Like that's
exactly.
the
And
typing
yeah,
muscles get really good.
well, that's why it's helpful to have a partner that you it's so nice that you can travel with your partner because you have at least one person who can do the driving while someone else can, do this and
Yeah.
and address those CDs, those mail packages. I do wanna mention that, it not only takes, a lot of time and energy, to be a full-time touring musician, but it also takes some, little grease, to fire up the vehicle, to pay for the postage, to maybe occasionally get him a coffee or an NA Sam Adams, whatever it might be. So feel free to throw something in that tip jar via PayPal or Venmo, Scott Cook Songs. And again, special deal today. If you throw $20 in that PayPal or Venmo, then he will throw in that CD for you. And again, today, because he's right across from the post office. So you'll get it much
Yes,
faster.
indeed.
If you live
They better put
stateside,
their
it will take
address
a lot
in.
faster. Yeah. And you have to put your mailing address. Otherwise he can't send it to you. So that's important. Um, well, oh, and David wanted to chime in with maybe also mention for that $20, you not only get the cover art with a 36-page booklet with lyrics and chords. That's right.
Indeed.
That is
Yeah.
super cool that you include the chords
Thanks for
because some people
mentioning
include
it,
lyrics,
David.
but not the chords. That's really neat.
Yeah, I mean, with my first record, the first three records, I had the lyrics. Sorry, the first record I didn't have any booklet, and then the next two I had booklets with the lyrics in it, and then my buddy Corin Raymond put out a record called Paper Nickels, where he covered a whole bunch of other songwriters, and he included the chords in there, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. It kind of reminded me of Rise Up Singing, right?
Mhm.
Like or Sing Out Magazine. Just it just felt like a folky thing to do, like in the way that I feel like folk music is really, when it's good, it erases the line between performers and audience, and it doesn't, hopefully it doesn't propagate the myth of the recorded music industry that there are these rock stars that we should scream and throw our panties when we're in the presence of, and that they're not like ordinary people like you and me.
Mm.
um so I feel like yeah, including the chords is just like a step in that direction, hopefully. So
Yeah.
this was the first album that I started including the chords with the book, and I've been doing that ever since. And yeah, I mean, also I've got a selfish motivation too, because I just, like I said, it's a real honor if anybody else sings my song, so I may as well help them out.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. They can't sing them if they don't have the lyrics and the chords, and, um, and if they don't have the album. So again, you all have to buy the album, and then you can, easily access those songs, those lyrics and those chords, and, pass along the music, to the next person along the campfire. And again, if you just joined us a little bit late for the back catalog listening party, Scott Cook is joining us today. He's pulled over in Billings, Montana, just to chat with us and revisit his album One More Time Around, which came out 10 years ago. So we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of that. Again, the only way you can get this music is, other than hearing him play live, is buying the album. So check that out. And we're going to dig into more music because I know that's what the folks want. This next track that you picked to feature is called When We're Back Around. Is there anything you want to say about this?
It's a breakup song. That's a pretty broad genre of songs. And I think this one is just me on banjo and my buddy Jez Hellard on guitar and harmony vocals. He's a guy that I met over in Taiwan, and he's an Englishman. And yeah, we hung out over there, and then we've done several tours together around the UK. And he plays songs and tunes, and he usually plays in dadgad tuning, which just the sound of that really always makes me think of the British Isles,
Mm-hmm.
and reminds me of him. And yeah, I think he did a fine job on this one.
Excellent. Well, we're going to take a listen to it now. This is When We're Back Around by Scott Cook here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Thought of you up in the timberline, where the cool wide open starts. You're there whenever I clear my mind, there whenever I ask my heart. And there beside the snow-fed creek, sliding clear along, laughing with the clapping leaves and the kingfisher song. And again along the weary way down, thinking someday, baby, when we're back around. Thought of you in the dusky air, with the day's journey just begun. Thought of the autumn in your hair, and the way you wear that setting sun. Thought of all the miles I'm going, all the time we tried, and how long we held on knowing that I had to leave, and why. Wondered if different reasons might be found someday, baby, when we're back around. Thought of you when I heard last call, when the hour's hungry for a kiss. I'm tired of bar rooms and alcohol. You used to take me home before it came to this. And there's a couple young girls making out right in front of their fellas, and the boys think it's all about trying to make them jealous. But when she dips her down close to the ground, she whispers, someday, baby, when we're back around. Thought of you rolling through Michigan, with her turquoise lakes and her peeping toes, getting around and wishing again for someone like you to share these roads. I guess we did right party, The ride's still hard to feel. Now I can't hold you, darling, so I just hold this wheel and dream through the time zones and towns. Someday, baby, when we're back around, I just dream through the time zones and towns. Someday, baby, when we're back around.
All right. That was Scott Cook with When We're Back Around from his 2013 release, One More Time Around, which we are revisiting with Scott Cook joining us from the side of the road in Billings, Montana, or right in front of the post office. So if you are tuned in from Billings, Montana, you could probably knock on the van and get in the
That's
broadcast.
true. That's true. That's
And
true. Come on down.
speaking of traveling in the van, I heard you mention several instruments you play. You said you got your start on bass, you play guitar, banjo on that last track, and bira. That's pretty tiny. But how many of these instruments do you bring with you when you travel? I know you also have a partner who also plays music. How many instruments do you travel with in the van, especially when you're living there
Pamela's,
for such a long time? I know you must have, clothes and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. We got more clothes than instruments. We have more hats in here than instruments. I'm looking at more hats than we have instruments. But yeah, Pamela plays the upright bass, so that's here.
It
The
takes up a lot
mbira
of
is
the
here.
space in the car too.
Indeed, yeah. And then there's two guitars and there's two banjos and there's a little uke bass, and I think
Hmm.
that's about it. Oh, there's a ukulele too. Yeah, that's it.
Ah, nice. Nice, nice. Well, again, you all can fuel up Scott's van to get to the next gig by throwing a little donation or the $20 in your mailing address to get this album we've been revisiting today one more time around. If you send some money via PayPal or Venmo at Scott Cook Songs, and that is in the comments, so you can find it there. And I hear that you have a new record out too. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, this one, David mentioned how there was a 36-page book in that one. Then there was a 48-page book in the following one, and then the one after that had a 132-page book. This one's called Further Down the Line.
Wow.
And the latest is called Tangle of Souls, and this is just really when I just got plain carried away. It's 240 pages. Um,
Wow.
More book than album, but there is an album in the back as well.
Wow. What a great art piece, too. So, if really, it sounds like you probably just need the whole Scott Cook library. And I'm calling it a library very intentionally because you have books with all of your albums. And did you say you have vinyl too of some of these?
Yeah, this one, Tango of Souls has vinyl to go with it for people who do that. We actually sold out of vinyl on this trip, so I got to get home and get more. But
Ah,
yeah, this one more time around, I had originally wanted to be vinyl, and I'm tempted to do it, but it would be an expensive production to make this record size and a 36-page record size book.
yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Um,
Excellent.
yeah,
And
vinyl is even harder to carry around
I was
and
gonna say
ship
it takes up
than
even more space in the van, speaking of, space being at a premium, and eventually you do have to sleep especially if you're sleeping in the van because,
we are.
you don't
Yeah,
wanna put the vinyl and the instruments outside of the van while you're sleeping, so that means you all have to fit in there somehow.
yeah.
Cozy up and, next to a box of vinyl while you sleep. Well, I also hear that you have a Patreon and, if, do you wanna tell folks, what you do for your Patreon community?
Sure, I will. First, I should mention that Back Catalog Listening Party has a Patreon,
We do.
and I guess you started that up fairly early in the pandemic just to keep this thing
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, that's right. That's scrolling right there, so folks can check that out. And we'll thank our Patreon supporters in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Patreon is such a great platform for uh, artists like you, as well
Mm,
as platforms like ours, where it takes money to run the operation and to keep it going, and in our case, keep the party going. And so, we rely on people who make a monthly donation and really join a community, though. And I think that's what makes Patreon special than just like some auto debit out of your account. It's that
yeah.
you join a community of people, and that's how we think of our Patreon, and I'm sure that's how you think of yours.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like social media without the riffraff,
Without the yeah, exactly. It's only the people who like Scott Cook's music, which are good people. So, yeah, so when people sign up for your Patreon, is there anything special you do for your Patreon people?
Yeah, so I started mine up just about 2 years ago now, and it was as a result of the pandemic, really. I mean, being plunked at home at that time, just having more time to, the road, being on the road is so all consuming that it doesn't really give much chance to like take a step back and look at the whole thing.
Mhm,
And at that time, I just felt like of all the stuff that was demanding my attention, writing songs was consistently ending up
mhm,
on the bottom of the pile.
mhm,
Um, and that feels kind of tragic to me. Whereas some of this other stuff, if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. But writing songs, yeah, that feels like that's the work. That's the real work. That's the
mhm,
main work that I'm supposed to be doing.
mhm,
And so, yeah, so I just decided to set a challenge for myself to write and record and release a new song every month. And people can join at whatever price they want. There's only one tier to the thing. Um, and there's 155 on board right now, and probably another 20 on board over at my website where I run a mirror of the same thing for folks who
mhm,
want to cut out the middle person.
mhm.
Um, but it's been great. It's been really, I mean, for one, there's just the real financial incentive at the end of every
Uh-huh.
month.
Yeah.
Um, but there's also just I don't want to let these people down. They
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
they,
the
they
the
want a new song every month. So it's kept me writing, and I guess I've probably it's about tripled my output, which
wow.
is great, for now that I mean, Tangle of Souls, the big one I showed you, came out in 2020, so I'm well overdue for a record, but I've got about over 20 songs to pick from.
Yeah.
Which normally when I was going into the studio, I was still finishing something so I could, and grab in a couple cover tunes so that I would have enough to make a record.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. So, if folks want to get those first looks at those new songs of Scott Cook's, then you can join his Patreon. We've posted a link in the comments. You can check that out there, and certainly you can always get to it also through scottcook.net. And since we've been talking about Patreon, this is a perfect opportunity to thank our Patreon supporters. And don't go anywhere because we have one more song we're going to get to. So, um, but I do want to thank the people that make our Patreon possible. And that would be Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Galen, Peggy, Joe, Jim Beverly, and John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Court, Matt, Steve, Mark, Homestead, Pick and Parlor, Severin, Lynn, Mary, Many Tracks, Nikki, Joni, David, Sarah C, CJ, and Wiley, and maybe you. If you would like to join
Wow.
our Patreon community, you can do that. You get first look at all of our guests before anyone else. You also we do periodic after parties where the guests hang with a private after party on Zoom where you can chat screen to screen with our guests in a more informal capacity. We do live stream concerts, and we're getting ready to have our inaugural pint glasses sent out to our Patreon
Oh,
supporters,
cool.
which is cool. So you can cheers us every Friday with your pint glass filled up with whatever it is that you are enjoying on your Friday. So really, it's just a pint full of fun, is what it is here on the back catalog listening party. But really, we couldn't do this without your support, and Scott couldn't do it without your support. So we're really grateful for all of you, music and song loving folks that keep the music flowing from week to week. And And then Joni says, "What a great album and guest this is." I agree, Joni. And we
Oh,
want to make
thank
sure we
you.
get through at least one more song. So, Scott, we have.
Why don't you play
Do
the
you know?
title track?
We will play the title track, and this track is available digitally because you just released it as a special kind of bonus for folks.
Hmm.
So you can stream this on repeat and then also buy the album. I think would be the best way to do this. So we're going to take a listen to this right now. One more time around. Let's take a listen to it and then we can chat a little bit about it afterwards, unless there's something you want to say before we do that.
No, all good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's make this happen. This is Scott Cook with One More Time Around here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Magnolia in the mild breeze, roadways stretching south. My thoughts scatter like wild geese, and the words fall from my mouth. I'm missing where I've been, yearning for where I'm bound. Spin the wheel again, one more time around. I thought of the islands, a canoe in the morning mist. Thought of waking up smiling, thought of leaving all this, burning through the scenery. Wore my brakes right down. Gotta listen to the machinery to make it one more time around. One more time around. There's joy in the daylight, courage in every start, landscapes to fill my sight, and music to fill my heart. And when the band kicks harder, troubles come unwound. Swing your partner one more time around. One more time around. Lucky to have the friends I've known, these songs to sing, this earth to ride. Got this sweet life on loan, couldn't keep it if I tried. Just a day's worth of it, feet worth of ground. Somebody's letting it ride somewhere. One
Waiting for that last moment to fade out. That was Scott Cook with One More Time Around, the title track to the record we have been revisiting with Scott Cook today here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. It celebrates its 10th anniversary this year. And in celebration, he's released that song digitally on all the platforms, so you can check it out there. But other than that, pretty much the way to check out Scott Cook's music is to buy it from Scott Cook. And again, you can do that by special today for back catalog listening party attendees. You can throw $20 in his Venmo or PayPal with your mailing address, and he'll get that to you right away. Again, in addition to One More Time Around, he has a whole library of music with complete booklets or books, bound books in the case of his new record, Tangle of Souls. So you can check that out as well. What a great tune to end things on today, I think. Scott has a nice, jaunty uh, sing along, I don't know, hootenanny vibe to that song.
Thanks. Thanks.
And I just want to thank you and all of you for joining us today as we revisit Scott Cook's album together. And Joni says, so good. And then she also says, safe travels to you. And yes, I
Thanks,
know Scott
Joni.
has many miles to travel before he sleeps tonight. And wherever
Mhm.
you are tuned in from today, again, thank you for joining us. If you liked the episode, like it on YouTube, direct more bots to Scott Cook. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're there, and you'll get notified of our next guest. And we do this every week, not every week with Scott Cook, and not every week with an artist in a van outside the Billings, Montana post office. But there's always a great artist revisiting an old record, and there's always great conversation and music to be had. But Scott, thank you for making today's show happen and making
Thank you
all the
so much for having me, Ellen. This is really great. You're a pro.
well, after 165 episodes, we've learned a thing or two. But anytime my co-host Anthony Ihrig is gone, I miss him, and so I appreciate all of you for hanging out, and to you, Scott, for making it so easy. Connie says she ordered the CD. She said
Okay, I'm
thanks for
going
a
out to
great
the post
show.
office right now.
And for all of you Minnesota folks, again, you can catch Scott Cook in August playing the Story Hill Fest in Deerwood, Minnesota. I've posted a link to more info. A lot of past back catalog guests and some future back catalog guests are going to be a part of the festival. And you can check out Scott's full tour schedule at scottcook.net. And I think that's all I got, except, again, thank you for spending the hour with us when you could have been doing, laundry or getting a bite to eat or
Oh, well, really, thank you so much for having me. I just see Pamela pull up, so I may as well get her to say hi.
oh, that would be great. Maybe she here we go.
Well,
Oh, and
Pamela, you got to say hi
there's
at
the
least.
big sky of Montana too. We get to see. Hi, Pamela. Nice to see you. We're gonna get Hi. We're gonna give Scott back to you right now. But we had a great hour revisiting his record one more time around, and we're so excited to have you come through Minnesota soon. And also, we hope you have safe travels back to Alberta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was a great interview. I was watching part of it from the
Oh,
coffee shop. Really.
oh, I love that. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Scott, and we'll see you soon. And
Thanks
to all
so
of you out
much,
there,
Ellen.
have a great weekend and stay safe out there. Cheers.
Cheers.